much as you'd like. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much. Alrighty, so next we have Tiffany, who's a GIS specialist with the U.S. Forest Service.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I am Tiffany Verlander. I am a cartographic technician for the Forest Service. And sorry, I don't have a presentation prepared. I didn't get the memo. Otherwise, I could have, otherwise I could have some pretty cool visuals to show you, but I'll explain it best I can. So I'm technically a cartographic technician, but really like it's basically a GIS specialist. And a lot of people wonder what GIS is, what it stands for. It stands for Geographic Information Systems. So basically I make maps. GIS a lot of times uses, it encompasses the software ArcMap. So you have to be really proficient with ArcMap. And so that's basically what I do. So like my day-to-day basis at work, I work with an interdisciplinary team, biologists and, everybody in the Forest Service, timber, and I help them to their proposed actions. I basically help them to visualize it, put it on a map. Through that, we can calculate acreages, mileages, and that is used for their analysis and can be used in legal documents and things like that. And I create the maps for legal documents, for proposed actions, for, project plans, forest treatments, things like that. So I basically just kind of help manage everybody's data, help them visualize it, help with the analysis. And I also do some IT because everybody still kind of has to do their own GIS work, but they kind of do the start and then I do the polishing. I finish it up in the end and make sure everything is good to go. So aside from that, it's really interesting. I got into it in kind of a weird way. I didn't go to college until I was about 24 because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I always liked art. I was always visually driven. I kind of took some classes in Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, but I didn't think graphic design would be the right thing for me. But one day I was watching, what was it? It was Our Planet or something like that. And I was thinking how much, darn, I love animals. And I was like, that's what I need to go to school for. I need to be like a biologist or zoologist or something like that. So at first, GIS wasn't even on my radar. I went and I got my my associate's degree in biology from Tulsa Community College in Oklahoma. And that was a really good experience. I just thought, okay, I'll start with an associate's and see how I feel. And it was such a good experience. I got scholarships, and became a part of, like the science group there and made a lot of friends and connections. And I decided, okay, well, I'm going to get my bachelor's now. So I went and I transferred to Northeastern State University in Oklahoma. That's also in Tulsa. And I got my bachelor's in biology with wildlife and fisheries emphasis. And I got my minor in geography because I've always kind of liked geography too. But towards the end of my bachelor's, I was talking to my friend who is a zoologist. And she said, if you want to get into like the biology field or zoology or work, for the Forest Service or something like that, she was saying, you really need to learn GIS. And I was like, well, what's GIS? She was like, it's mapping, everything you do, you're going to have spatial data and you're going to need to map it. And I was like, okay. So I was waiting after a class one day and I saw a pamphlet on the wall like a week later after she told me about it. And it was a GIS certification at the community college. So, and it was 5 classes. I'm like, I can do this. And it ended up being really difficult. We had to do 2 classes one semester, 2 classes the next semester, and then we had to do a practicum. So it still took a year and a half to do the 5 classes. But it was the best decision I ever made. I got my first job through networking through that class. And I worked at a place called Aerial Data Service in Tulsa. And we basically mapped out the world. We used certain software that constantly updates. It's something called Digital Globe. It constantly updates the latest satellite imagery we contracted with the Department of Defense. And so, you know, kind of areas that are in conflict and things like that, we would monitor changes and map out changes, and, you know, even just different ecosystems and ecosystem changes and things like that. So I was there for a little while, but then I ended up getting a internship offer at NASA. So I went to California for 3 months and I worked at NASA. I ended up helping to map the geomorphologic features of Saturn's moon Titan. So I did that over one summer and I loved it so much. The next summer I asked them, I'm like, if you guys are still working on this and you still need another intern, I would love to come back. And they were like, yeah. So I went back the next summer, and this was the summer of 2017, and I ended up getting extended through the rest of the year. So I stayed there until the beginning of 2018. And so that was like the coolest experience, was mapping a moon. And they ended up actually publishing it. If you Google, you know, Titan's geomorphologic map, it'll come up with a bunch of pretty colors. And I pretty much mapped about 75% of it, and one of my colleagues mapped about the other 25%. So that was really cool. That was kind of like the highlight of my schooling and stuff. And then I transferred to OU because I just didn't really know what to do yet after finishing my internship there. Because to be an intern, you have to be a student, and I had graduated at that point. So I went to OU and I got most of my environmental science master's. I haven't quite finished it yet. I do plan on finishing it eventually. But yeah, I mean, in the end, I kept thinking I want to, you know, work with animals and work with biology, but I kept going back to GIS. I ended up getting an internship with the Bureau of Land Management, and I worked with archaeologists delineating their archaeological surveys dating back, you know, 20 plus years. And basically just kind of updated all of their old files to show spatial data in ArcMap, so that basically in the future, the people at that location, the archaeologists, they could pull up old files and see if they needed to reevaluate a site, or if it's already been evaluated before, without having to dig through a bunch of paperwork. But through that, through networking and everything, I was able to apply for my position here in West Virginia at the Monongahela National Forest. And I'm stationed out of Marlinton, and our ranger is amazing. She knows that, you know, I love field work and I love animals and I like to be outdoors. So she, you know, she was like, when you're not doing GIS work, feel free to go out into the field and help out. And GIS work even involves some field work too. One thing I want to do is get a pilot license to fly a drone, because, you know, you can fly a drone and you can use that and, you know, put it into GIS and, you know, make maps and things like that. So it's not all just sitting in front of a computer. There are field aspects to it. And even ArcMap has, you know, an app called Collector, and you can go out, you know, collect GPS points with that, you know, bring it back, upload it straight to ArcGIS Online. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do. So it's been kind of a strange, weird way that I got here, but I wouldn't trade it. I really enjoy it. As far as like what skills or experiences are valuable, I would say probably organization, computer skills. I kind of know the lingo, but for GIS, I would really, it is so difficult to learn. The software is so finicky that it's really good to at least do like a certification or like some starter classes, and you can even find some free ones online. You can get a GIS job without having a degree. As long as you have the experience and you know what you're doing and you can show that, then there's a lot of opportunity in the GIS field, and there's always so much more room to grow. There's you know, it's great working with other people in GIS, because, you know, I might know a lot about one part of GIS, and then a colleague might know a lot, you know, on another part of GIS, and then when you work together, you can make some really incredible things happen. So that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Are there any questions in the chat?
I have a quick kind of personal question, but I do good bit of work in GIS in my position currently, and I really like it. I've done a little research on like what certifications are available, and there's like I think a few different ones. Do you have a bias as somebody who's a part of that field?
As far as online, I'm not really sure. I got my certification from an accredited like college, like I went and sat in a classroom and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as online, I don't have a good recommendation. I would say, you know, do what online classes you can that maybe show a certificate that you did finish the class. And at least if you get a GIS interview, you can at least show these certifications like, hey, I did these classes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you, Tiffany. That was interesting. One of our other speakers is currently in Tulsa too, so that was nice to hear.
Oh yeah, I love it out there.
So yeah, thanks so much for speaking. That was very interesting and cool to hear a different take on how people with interest in animals can use STEM to do different types of careers. So thank you.